Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to
Knockouts and Three Counts.
Yes, sir. This is Knockouts and Three Counts. We are here live from the illustrious, there goes that word again, illustrious Podcast Detroit
You've
studios.
been watching too much Ric Flair.
No, I've been reading the dictionary, man. Trying to learn new words.
Get the fuck out of here. We all know where you got that from, and if you say it's not from Ric Flair, you're a lie. Because you were saying that a while ago.
Half truth.
So how long have you been reading the fucking dictionary then? Because you've been using that since we started this show.
Since we started doing this show. This is Knockouts and Three Counts. We're here
He's
at Royal Oak.
the iPage.
Here in Royal Oak at the Podcast Detroit studios. It's just gonna be us this week, man. We haven't done one of these in a while where we just sit around and talk about MMA and gonna talk a little boxing, gonna talk a little wrestling. Pepper Cow is supposed to be calling in. We'll see how long that takes.
See if he actually loves us or not.
Exactly.
I call bullshit, but I mean, hey.
But until then, while we go ahead and do our intros, Kyle, why don't you go ahead and go first, sir?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Detroit Knockout, at Detroit Knockout. Make sure you're following our show page, Knockouts and Three Counts Podcast on Facebook, KO3C Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and KO3CPod.com. And also, if you have time off for Christmas, which I know a lot of you are going to, so don't lie to me, December 29th, we are going to be live from BCWA Cataclysm. And they've brought in Truth Martini at this point. They've brought in Colt Cabana. They've brought in Allison K. RJ City, Solo Darling.
City.
They're bringing in big names.
Darling.
In other words, don't be lame. Show the fuck up. You might get kicked in the head like the little girl in the front row, but that's besides
I don't really think that's a good selling point, sir.
I mean, hey, who doesn't want to be part of the action? You might just take a wrestler home in your lap with you.
I was gonna say something, but in the climate that we're in right now, I don't want to have to get me too. But yeah, definitely come out for Cataclysm. Definitely looking forward to that show. Oh, past guest of the show, Mr. Mysterious Movado is going to be there.
He's making his debut for BCWA,
yes,
and he just won the IBW Heavyweight Championship.
Yes, sir. So definitely looking forward to that. I'm Devin. You can find me on Twitter at Devin63. That's DEVINTHE63. You can find me on Instagram at All Steak No Sizzle. That's one word. Speaking of All Steak No Sizzle, check out my other podcast.
Yeah, do that shit.
All Steak No Sizzle. Had a very, very emotional episode this past week. So check that out. Listen to your boy Crown on a microphone. Hey, make sure you check out the Reality Era News group on Facebook. We in there talking wrestling. If you want to complain about Monday Night Raw, that's your little platform right there. You can talk with us and complain about Baron Corbin if you want to. We'll talk about that later.
God almighty. Can I just say, although I love the people that are in that group, I am so fucking tired of seeing posts about motherfuckers being just like, I feel like you don't ever see any good posts in there anymore. They're all salty. Doesn't matter what promotion we're talking about.
Oh, just wait. Because later on in the show, I got to get a lot of stuff off my chest. There's going to be a rant.
Oh, Jesus.
There's going to be a rant, but it's a much-needed rant.
But on the upside, there is one other thing that maybe we should let our listeners into. So going into
Do I know about this?
You'll figure it out as soon as I start talking. 2019, you're going to be able to, if you go to any of the big events that are going to happen for WWE, you might want to keep your eyes out. You might find some people from Knockouts and Three Counts, because I will be at WrestleMania. And Devin and I both have talked about both SummerSlam and Survivor Series. In
Teams
Chicago.
of 5 strive to survive.
So we are going to be there getting you all the best information. We're going to get the first-hand views, just like we did with Money in the Bank. So if you are making the trek to any of these shows, be on the lookout for your boys, man.
Yes, sir. Well, let's start. We will start off with. We're gonna save wrestling for last, since that's gonna be.
How about that Wilder Fury clusterfuck?
Start us off, man.
So full disclosure here, I was trying to watch the fight, and I may not.
Wait. Please do not admit to any illegal activities, sir.
Things might not have been on the up and up, but anyway, That being said, I got to see the fight. I missed some parts of it, but from what I saw, man, and what I've heard, what I've read, and from respected sources, this fight I knew was going to be an interesting one from the jump because you had two guys that were knockout artists, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got two distinctly different styles. You've got Fury, who has the power to knock you out, but he also can box the shit out of you. And you've got Wilder just tries to knock your damn head off. It was a tough one because when I looked at the numbers, I saw that Wilder won a lot of the early rounds. But I also saw that, as many of you know, Tyson Fury got knocked the fuck out. And got saved by that ref's count for some reason. But that's not even the thing, though. You also had him knock Fury down in multiple rounds, which for those of you who don't know as much about the scoring, in boxing, when you get a knockdown, it's automatically a 10-8.
10-8 round.
In MMA, it's not quite that way because a lot of times, like, you can have a guy say he gets dropped and it's a flash knockdown, but he takes the guy down.
Right.
Then a lot of times that'll negate your knockdown. But in boxing, since you have to take a standing 8, as soon as you get knocked down, that means it's essentially 2 rounds for you over your opponent because
I think it was 2 of those 10-8 rounds.
Yeah, so as soon as you get knocked down, it makes it 10-8. So that basically gives you 2 rounds. And he did it in 2 separate rounds, which essentially means he's already got 4 rounds in the bank. That leaves 8 rounds left to the fight. So if he even wins 3 rounds out of the next 8, then that means he wins the fight. So it's a hard one because Wilder won some of the earlier rounds, or not Wilder, Fury won some of the earlier rounds, but I don't understand how that fight doesn't go to Wilder, considering the fact that you mean to tell me, okay, so he won 4 rounds, technically.
Yeah.
But you mean to tell me that Fury won the other 8?
Well, shout out to the guys from Sports Lab. I went to their studio and watched the fight with them. Fury, I thought Fury was going to win that fight up until the last round.
I picked Fury for the fact that I thought his boxing could be the difference.
Well, no, I picked Wilder to win the fight, but as the fight was going on, I thought Fury had it, and I literally said in the 12th round, like, Fury's gonna win this fight unless he gets knocked out, and then he got knocked the fuck out. Like
so, like that was the other thing. So he gets dropped. I mean, not only did he get dropped, this dude fell straight back and smoked his head off the canvas. Now, most times when you see somebody fall and hit the canvas like that and their head bounces, that's because they're knocked out.
Hi, Alicia.
So dude got the shit knocked out of him. And then I don't know if it seemed that way to you watching live, but to me it looked like, from the things I saw, it was like the ref almost like hesitated because he was so shocked at the way he got dropped. And because you hesitated, I feel like that gave him time to recover.
Somebody home boy of mine, Andreas Hell, he actually covers boxing. He was actually at the fight covering that fight for I think he works for Bleacher Report or whatever right now. And so he's right there front row, and he saw the knockout. And he tweeted out, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something like this. He said, Fury gets knocked out, and he starts talking to God. He says, "Hey, God, I think I want to go back and finish this fight. What you think?" And God was like, "Cool." He woke up and they started fighting again.
Did you see all the Undertaker memes, though?
Man.
God.
He came back like the Undertaker, man. Like,
he literally was like dead and then
out.
Just sits up and gets up in like 2 seconds. It wasn't even like a slow get up. Like he sat up,
just
stood up,
popped right up.
And like nothing ever happened. And I'm like,
right. But yeah, back to my point. The Sports Lab, I was watching it with the Sports Lab guys, and like I was pulling for Wilder. I wanted Wilder to win this fight. And Fury, to me, was outboxing him most of that fight. But I had a feeling that hashtag boxing politics was going to kick in. And I'm like, they're going to call this a draw. They're going to call this a draw so that they can set up the rematch. And sure enough, it's a draw. And they already started talking like, oh, we got to do this again. So what I think is going to happen is probably March, April, maybe even May, we'll get the second Wilder and Fury fight. And then probably in September, we'll get Joshua and Wilder. Because really, those three guys are the three guys that are making the heavyweight division right now. So they want to prolong the money. Yeah, those guys made some money today. They're going to make more money when they have their rematch. And that's only going to set up Joshua and Wilder, or even Joshua and Fury down the line. So hashtag boxing happen again. That's one of my beefs with boxing, is that boxing is one of the few sports where you could say, oh, well, man, I already know what's going to happen. The fix is in. And, like, no one ever really questions it. Like,
well, see, my only thing with that, and I definitely see where that can come with boxing, because anyone that's done any
watching of boxing in the past 20 years.
Not even watching a boxing.
Covering of boxing in the past 20 years. Shout out to Tony Atlas.
If you really know
Teddy
anything,
Atlas.
if you know anything really about, like, the history of boxing, like, there was always, like,
mob ties.
Mob ties and shit like that from the beginning. And boxing, unlike it, well, I can't say unlike MMA because it happens in MMA too, but in boxing, a lot of guys have padded records until they get to the bigger fights.
Of course.
MMA, you don't see that as much, but it definitely, especially with how big MMA has gotten, it's a lot easier to do that. But, you know, you've had so many of these, and this is why I shared the video by Teddy Atlas that you were just talking about. This is why judging in combat sports needs to be fucking changed. Because too often now do you have people that win a fight and get fucked. Like, case in point, here's this one, but I'll take you back a few years since we've talked about John Jones bunch on the show. I think Gustafsson kind of got robbed in that title fight. I think the only reason John Jones won that fight, and rightfully so, don't mistake what I'm saying.
He's a champ.
The reason he won that fight was because he was the champ and he gets the champion's advantage, which you should have to beat the champion. But the way MMA and boxing are judged just doesn't make sense to me, because, like, in this fight, so you're saying the rules are if I drop you, I get 2 points essentially. You know what I'm saying? I get 2 points for knocking you down.
Right.
I did that in 2 rounds, which means I win 4 rounds. If I win 3 rounds on any of them other judges' scorecards, means I win. So how is it you can have a guy knock a guy down twice in 2 separate rounds, but then it still's a draw?
Well, not even that. He was out. Like,
and that too.
How did you not stop the fight? And I give Tyson Fury credit. He was able to make it through the rest of the fight. So, but no, he was out of there, bro.
Shout out to Eduardo. Thanks for sharing us out, bro. Appreciate it.
But so we talked about the fight. What do you think is next? I basically told you what I thought was next. I think we get the rematch.
Oh, they're definitely going to run that back. You can't not.
Did they run it back before Joshua and Wilder get at it?
For sure. You can't have Wilder fight Joshua, because then there's the argument until they run that back and somebody wins definitively, because if you run Wilder Joshua beforehand, it can't work that way, because then he's not technically the champion. Well, I take that back. He is champ, but
I'm sorry.
He's having some feline moments over here, fucking weirdo and shit.
Shout out to former Podcast Detroit guest Aaron. How you doing?
You've been watching too much fucking Austin Powers, bro.
Huh?
I don't know why I can hear when you're going like this. All I can see is fucking Mike Myers doing the fucking yeah, baby, yeah. Yeah, man. It just I don't know. As far as your question, I think they have to run that back first. You can't do the Joshua fight first, because then Fury has the argument. So you're calling Wilder the champ, but he didn't beat me.
And this only hypes up the Wilder Joshua fight even more, because now there's no one left.
Not to mention, whoever wins that fight, since you had to draw the first fight, that's going to stamp whoever wins as, like, he's the one who's, the top of the top. Then there's no argument that whomever wins should be the one fighting Joshua. Yep. Because they had to draw the first time. He won the second fight. So I feel like
Do you think there's a chance of a trilogy in this one?
Depends on how the second fight goes.
It's about to say, because if there's
if it's a close fight, yeah, sure. Okay. But if somebody gets knocked the fuck out, no.
Fury. Excuse me. Oh, I got a theory on on why Tyson Fury was able to get up like that, man. The cocaine sustained him, man.
Cocaine sustained him?
Yeah, man. Cocaine's a hell of a drug, man. It can wake up a knocked out man. You know Tyson Fury was on cocaine real bad for a while, right?
I didn't know that.
But yeah. Like he got up to like 400 pounds and like got like a coke addiction. That's why he was gone for like a couple years.
I do remember him being gone, but I didn't remember that was why. But
I feel like Randy wants to say something.
I thought coke addictions made you lose weight. That's what I learned from Archer.
He was doing fat crack, I guess. I don't know. Hashtag
his crack had extra weight.
Hey, let's go ahead and get that hashtag going, fat crack. But yeah, he had like a bad coke problem, and I think he spent some time in prison too, if I'm not mistaken, and gained a bunch of weight. So that's why when you watch the fight, there was such like a weight difference between them, man. Can I say like Wilder has like chicken legs? Have you noticed that?
Oh yeah. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy because you say that, but like if you really look at a lot of hell, here's a perfect comparison. If you really look at a lot of guys that are in WWE or wrestlers, like now there are guys who have, you know, really defined legs and things like that, but by and large, even in wrestling,
chicken leg
big
wrestling.
Man sport, you'll have a dude that's fucking huge upper body, but then you look at his legs and his legs,
leg day, bro.
His legs look like they just skipped it.
Can't skip leg day, bro.
See, and then you have
leg day is the best day. Why do people skip leg day?
Then you also have like the flip side.
No, I love doing leg day, like goblet squats and leg presses and calf raises. I love those things.
I didn't know you worked out like that, Randy.
I haven't in a while. But when I do.
I
love leg day.
That means I don't have to work my arms.
But yeah, dude, it's just you see that a lot, and you see that a lot these days too. But yeah, dude, it's funny when you see it in a fight though, because you got one guy that's built like a brick shit house, and then you got another guy that like just doesn't.
Yeah, got the chicken leg syndrome out there. All right, let's go ahead and move on to anything else about boxing you want to talk on? Real quick, I am looking forward to seeing the Charlo brothers on the 22nd. That's
hell yeah! And shout out to Tony Harrison.
Absolutely, yeah.
Shout out to Tony Harrison. I hope, even though I like the Charlo brothers, I hope you knock this motherfucker out for Detroit, dude. Because I've been watching Tony Harrison for a long time. I know a lot of guys that have trained with him, and just him being here from Detroit, I respect it.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about UFC 231. 31? Yeah, 231.
That's the one Saturday.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to this fight. We got a double championship main event on this one. To me, a really good card they put together. Let's go ahead and start from the top, man. We got Holloway versus Ortega, man. What are your thoughts on this fight, man?
I fucking love this fight. I love this fight.
Me too.
I've been waiting to see it, dude. And, like, first of all, since you're going to get to go on your rant later, I'm going to go on my rant right now.
Go for it, man.
To all you motherfuckers that watch...
I'm going to go get more beer. Go ahead.
All you motherfuckers that watch MMA and bitch because Holloway's gotten his concussions and you think that he's not a good champion because of which, they're not playing ballet, dude. You know, and Holloway has not only won the title, but he's defended the title against names like Jose Aldo, and he's fought some of the best names in the division. So for somebody to rain on Holloway's parade and say because he has concussion issues that he shouldn't be a champion, fuck you. Because they're not playing ballet, dude. So I just...
Wait, is that a thing? Him having concussion issues and him... That's why he.
That's what people have been complaining about. That's why the fight got postponed, because he got another concussion. But I mean, dude, we're talking about fighting. Okay, you're taking multiple shots to the head in a fight, and that's not even including all the shots you take in training and at camp. So, just to me, man, it always bugs me when people say stuff like that. But I'm looking forward to this fight because, honestly, I like this fight because it's going to be one of the most, in my opinion, probably one of the most well-rounded fights you're going to see. Because I would say Ortega probably has a little bit of an advantage in the jiu-jitsu game, but Holloway's no slouch. I would say Holloway probably has the advantage on the feet, but again, Ortega's no slouch.
Exactly.
So this fight has all the makings to be the shit. So I'm looking forward to that. And I know your next question is going to be, who do I think is going to win?
Well, real quick, like you said, I'm definitely looking forward to this fight. Brian Ortega, he's on a great run right now. I felt like there was no other fight for them to make except for this one.
And respect to him for having the balls to say, no, dude, I earned my title shot. I'm not fighting until I get a title shot.
Definitely. And as far as Holloway, yeah, I remember him having to pull out of a fight due to concussions, and hopefully everything is cool with him. And I'm looking forward to a great fight, personally. Go ahead. Who do you got?
Although I'm a very big fan of Brian Ortega, dude,
Holloway?
I feel like it's Holloway because even though Ortega's got good jiu-jitsu, right?
Mm-hmm.
So did Jose Aldo. Okay, even though Jose Aldo is older now,
Right.
Jose Aldo had the full package too. Granted, he didn't fight him when he was in killer Jose Aldo mode, but that being said, like nobody's had an answer for him. Nobody has, and at least since he got back on that run. And so for me, I'm gonna go Holloway, but I will say I wouldn't be shocked in the least if Ortega wins, dude. I'm just excited to see this fight either way.
Would it be a cop out if I said I don't have an answer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm okay with that. I don't have an answer. I just want to see a good
Fuck
fight.
that. You motherfuckers always make me pick. So you're picking.
I'm gonna go ahead and pick Brian Ortega because Holloway being off for as long as he has could come back to bite him. It's not necessarily his choice. He just had to take the time off to recover from the concussions. But Ortega, I think he's been in the ring, not in the ring, in the cage more recently than Holloway, and I think he has the tools to get it done, man. Like you said, his jiu-jitsu is on point. Even though Holloway is really good at defending it, Ortega has the striking abilities too. I'm gonna go with Brian Ortega. And then our next fight. Now, this is a championship fight, right? For the women's flyweight, right?
Who's it? Who's the other fight again?
Shevchenko versus Jędrzejczyk. I thought it was a championship fight. I'm looking on now, mind you, I am looking on Wikipedia, which is not the best source, but I'm not seeing anything about a championship fight on there. But as far as I know, it's a championship fight.
Hey Kyle, why don't you shut the fuck up talking shit on the video and call in? Like, damn.
Is there something going on that I need to
He's
know about?
talking trash because I said that you guys always make me pick instead of commenting. Why don't you call in?
I thought he was on his way.
So he's got a phone?
Oh.
Yeah, he said he was going to call in 10 minutes, like 20 minutes ago.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
How you late calling in?
Because his new podcast is his priority.
He doesn't love us anymore. But Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Valentina Shevchenko. Try to say those names 10 times fast, man.
I'm not gonna. Because I'm 100% sober and I can't do it.
I'm gonna go ahead and jump in on this one first, man. I'm really looking forward to this fight. I'm a big fan of Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Valentina Shevchenko, I think, is a hell of a fighter. I'm pulling for my girl Joanna in this one. I think both of them are great.
Oh shit! He listened.
We got.
Should I answer?
Sure.
Right away.
Yo.
Yes, may I get a number 3 extra sauce and a number 4 no mushrooms?
Sir, that only comes with mushrooms.
Oh, I hung up.
Did you really? Hashtag mean Randy.
And he's not even drunk, Randy.
Housekeeping.
No, thank you.
You need no
I clean?
blanket?
I clean.
No, thank you.
What's up, Mr. Campbell? What's going on, man?
Oh, no, God, woman, please, we need no towels. Oh, never mind. What's going on, Joe?
Another day, man. Just in here.
Did you watch any of the fights?
UFC? Nah. I was watching until watching you guys talk about it until I just called in. But no, I ain't watch none of that shit. I saw some memes and shit when Overboy got knocked down and jumped back up like the Undertaker. But I see the actual fight.
Okay.
All right, so we'll skip through that part. But
Kyle, go ahead, give your thoughts on Joanna.
I like that fight, dude. I've said it from the minute that Joanna Jędrzejczyk came into the UFC, dude. That woman's a fucking monster, dude.
Oh yeah.
The way that she goes into the cage, like, I just respect it because that woman is ruthless. I feel like she would rip your throat out if she had.
Wait,
to.
hold on. I'm gonna ring the bell now.
Turned on almost.
I've met Joanna Jędrzejczyk before, and I took a picture with her and I squared off with her. And like I did this with Ronda Rousey, so I squared off with her and I whispered something like I just peed a little bit. Every time they bust out laughing, right? Not Joanna. Joanna scared the shit out of me because she was like, "I hope not too much." I was like, oh, okay, all right. I'm not gonna fuck with you no more, little lady. But no, she's nice as hell. But yeah, I can tell when she clicks
She's
in, man.
But that's the thing. Same thing with Shevchenko. Shevchenko's just got that vibe. Like, ironically, considering I just went and saw Creed, she reminds me of like a female. She reminds me of like a female Drago, bro. Like, I must break you. She doesn't say anything else. I must break you.
I break you.
And especially at 25, dude. She's been fucking girls up at 125.
I agree.
Dude, that drop to 125 was a great move because she has beat the shit out of everybody she's fought so far.
And then you got to realize Joanna is moving up a weight class, so
she's naturally going to be smaller, which means she's not going to hit as hard.
I thought she was moving up.
Yeah, if she's moving up, that means she's going to be smaller. If she's moving up weight class, that means she'll naturally be smaller than her opponent who's cutting down to make 125.
Yeah, I got you.
That's what I'm saying. So not that she won't still have power, but it's not going to be the same as at 115.
And that's what I was saying. Like that size difference is going to be very interesting because Shevchenko's coming down, Joanna's moving up. So.
What up, CJ? And fuck the Spartans.
Wow.
He knows why I said that because that fucker walks around work all the time talking about OHIO because he's a State fan, so he likes shitting on Michigan at every turn.
Don't you know that Ohio State beats Michigan State just as much as they beat Michigan? So that makes no sense.
Not exactly. Do you realize? Wait, I just found this out today, and peace out to Urban Meyer. But do you realize that Urban Meyer has only lost 9 games since he's been in Ohio State?
I don't doubt it at all.
And there's only 2 teams that's beaten him more than once, and that's Clemson and Michigan State. Those are the only 2 teams that's beaten Urban Meyer more than once.
Like I said, dude, I give credit to State where it's due, but I just never, since I started watching sports, have ever understood.
Hey, Jim Harbaugh, get your fucking shit together.
You
have no fucking excuses anymore. He's gone. I'm sorry.
I respect the hell out of that, but yeah,
Win, lose, or draw, he should be gone.
What'd you say?
You haven't done it. Win, lose, or draw this bowl game, he should be gone. He hasn't. To me, as a diehard Michigan fan,
he is not. It's not
years,
time to get rid of him yet, dude.
He hasn't done. He hasn't done anything he said he was going to do so far.
They had a 10-2 season.
That doesn't fucking count. It doesn't mean shit.
It does, dude.
It does not mean shit. 10-2
twice. You know, so you let those get away from you. So you know what? As far as I'm concerned, I'm good. I'm good on you, Jimmy.
You're always so quick to pull the trigger. You're a cynical motherfucker.
10-2 don't mean shit when you lose to Notre Dame and Ohio State every year.
I'm not arguing that. That shit bothers me.
And then you don't win the fucking bowl game. It don't mean I'm sorry. If you want to hear my rant about Michigan University's football team, listen to All Steak No Sizzle. But we're here to talk wrestling and MMA and all that stuff. So let's move on.
Now what? To the wrestling part?
Let's get to Kyle. You haven't chimed in yet, man. We're just talking whatever we want to talk about as far as wrestling goes. I've got a rant coming on, so I'm gonna let you guys take the floor. But Mr. Campbell, you go first, man. What's on your mind as far as the wrestling world goes right now?
I'm getting to a point where I think I might be dropping Raw out of my regular watching rotation. It is becoming unwatchable. I mean, it's gotten to a point where I literally don't watch it live. I specifically make sure I watch it after it's fully recorded, and then I make sure I do that so I can skip past stuff because
Hey, Kyle,
I know there's going to be a lot of crap.
That's not endearing us to our listeners who know that we're supposed to be covering pro wrestling when you tell them you're not going to watch it.
I'm going to stop watching Raw too and only watch porn with condoms.
What the fuck?
Wait, Kyle, did you hear what Randy said?
I heard something about some shot in credits, and that's all I really heard.
What?
You did not hear anything.
But it's getting to the point. I mean, it's getting unwatchable, man. I mean, every week it starts out the exact same way. It's a 20-minute promo, and then the same thing they did 5 years ago with the heel authority figure with the Authority. They're rehashing the exact same stuff for the Baron Corbin stuff, and I mean, literally, you could write every show the exact same way for the last 2-3 months, where Corbin schedules a match. Babyface comes out there, gets double or triple teamed. Corbin restarts the match again, lets them get beat up again. Then you have a bad segment with bad comedy, a weird backstage interview. They bring up Dean and Renee's relationship. Renee acts all weird about it. They skip, and then you do the same thing for another 2 hours. Did I miss anything?
No.
Oh, and Finn Balor shows up.
Now, I'm not going to argue that the last while, I mean, I will be the first to admit it, especially last week, man. Like, it was bad. I'm not saying that it's I'm not saying that it's good. I'm not trying to say that at all. But, like, I feel like some things, dude, are way over harped on. Like,
such as
Ronda Rousey, for first of all, because I've heard, I don't know how many people, oh my God, they're pushing her like Brock Lesnar. Well, first of all, everyone knows she can fuck up anybody in the WWE. So you cannot make her look weak, first of all. Second of all, I will be the first to admit that I didn't like that she just got up from the Charlotte thing, because to me that kind of negated the whole thing. So I'm not saying that I agree with everything. But
and she came out smiling too. So
maybe so, but I mean, dude, for the amount of time she's been in the business and what she's done with it, I feel like she's consistently grown. Now, does she have this huge moveset? No. But, dude, you can't expect her to. Like, she's not a character who's going to wrestle like a Chris Benoit or something like that where there are all these moves. She's an MMA fighter. She wrestles like an MMA fighter. That's what they brought her in for. But, like, I just feel like some things, dude, like, people are so quick to shit on things sometimes. I feel like, although, don't get me wrong, again, there's a lot of things I don't like. I just feel like sometimes people are, like, overly critical.
Well, that's the nature of the beast, especially when you're hosting a show talking about stuff. You're going to have to give different of opinions. So it's all about, giving different perspectives. So I'm okay with Ronda Rousey. I think she's starting to get a little too much, not overpraised, but to the point where it's all like, well, she's been so good. She came in so good. Yeah, she did. When she came in January, February, March, she did better than any of us thought. But it's December now. She's been doing this full time. So it's like, okay, she came in good. Now she's been here for months. So now we have an active body of work to judge her on. And me personally, I don't think she needs to have a microphone in her hand. She's just not doing it for me as comparable on the mic. She's not a good actress, like I said before. I mean, she's never been a box office draw in anything I've seen her. And I've seen her in The Expendables, Entourage, Fast and Furious. Yeah. Everything I've seen her in, it's been the exact same performance in everything. She's not the worst actor in the world, but if I had $10 million and you asked me to cast a movie, she's not going to be anywhere near my casting list. But she's good in the ring. She's got, like you said, her moveset. But to me, I think it's getting to the point where she has had an active body of work as an active WWE competitor. So therefore, she should be judged like anybody else on the basics. And one of the basics is having that microphone in your hand. And to me, she's at the bottom rung of everybody on active television when it comes to having a microphone in your hand.
Hey, Kyle, anything else you want to touch on Wrestling Rise, man? Because I'm telling you, like, I need some time uninterrupted just to go on this rant. So go ahead, get your stuff out, man.
I honestly think that they really, within the next couple of weeks, are going to have to do some shakeups because from everything I've been hearing, every Raw so far is getting the worst ratings of any Raw in the history of this show being on. And last week's was the lowest rated Raw ever. So it's getting to a point where they honestly have to look at themselves and see that they are not putting out a good television product. And that's the thing. Raw is a television show first. It's sports entertainment. It's a show first, and it's often been compared to a soap opera. Well, soap operas are serial in nature. So therefore, you need to set up things that eventually do pay off. And to me, it seems like each week they make a singular show for a non-WWE fan, for somebody that is just happened to be channel surfing and fall into Raw, which I'm not saying go back to the Attitude Era glory days and chair shots, no, but have more continuity. I mean, I heard last night Nia Jax make a ugly joke about Ember Moon when Nia Jax's feud with Alexa Bliss was on Body Shaming. Like, come on. At least have your own continuity down within a few months. So, that's just me.
Mr. Collison, you have the floor.
I mean, don't get me wrong, dude. Like, although I do like some things they do, don't get me wrong. I said it right as soon as we started talking about wrestling. I think that episode last week was absolutely fucking horrible. Like, first of all,
PP time.
One of my biggest issues with what they're doing today, and I just talked about this with somebody today at work. Matter of fact, it was with one of my customers. We were there at the window talking about it, and I said, dude, it makes no sense to me that, okay, so you've got Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre together, and then you just split them, but then you put McIntyre with Corbin when McIntyre is supposed to be this big badass, and that's the promo that he cut on Raw. But then what about Ziggler? Because if I'm not mistaken, to me, like Ziggler said in his promo, to me, even though Drew wants to claim he was the brains of that group, it always kind of seemed like to me until the end of it, Dolph was the leader of that shit. And how do you just drop that apart after all those months of being together without, like, okay, so they had their match on Raw, but they were already basically broke up before there ever was a match. And I've never liked when you put people together on a team or a stable or anything like that, and then you just...
Real quick, I'm going to let you finish, but real quick, did they break up before? Because to me, it felt like one week they were, this tag team or whatever, and they were a crew, and then all of a sudden, Dolph Ziggler just wasn't there anymore.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Like, it didn't make sense to me.
They never had them break up, and that's exactly what I'm saying, dude. Like, that's exactly what I'm saying. Okay. Like, for you to put all that time into something like that, and they did, if you really think about it, because Drew got called up when it it was right after WrestleMania or something like that, wasn't it?
Like Mania or before SummerSlam, something like that.
Yeah, it was after Mania because you can go ahead and ring the bell, but I was there the night after Mania, so they didn't do the big reveal that way. But that being said, like, he's been up there for a while, and the majority of the time he's been up there, he's been with Ziggler. And then up till about, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, they just dropped it, and there was no nothing. And that, I've never liked that kind of stuff. Like, I believe that anytime you break up a team, here's a perfect example, and it leads me into one of the things I do like about wrestling right now, is that anytime you have a team break up, there needs to be a big blow-off. Case in point, Gargano and Ciampa. Them two were like the underdog team and all that shit, and then you just have the one point where somebody snaps and beats the shit out of the other one, and then they had the long feud to go with it. I just feel like doing it that way doesn't capitalize on it. That being said, we talk about this all the time, but I still love what they're doing in NXT. I love that. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with the whole Gargano-Ciampa thing, and if they get back together. And I like what they've done in NXT UK too, because I feel like they're building up more people that way. And I feel like the integration of the people from the normal NXT brand to NXT UK only adds legitimacy to NXT UK.
What about 205 Live?
I've liked that a lot better. I've liked, even though that's my point when I say I think people are getting a little too cynical. Like, don't get me wrong. Raw has not been good. I'm not even going to try and act like it has been because, like Devin said, sometimes I end up skipping through segments because they just don't entertain me. But that being said, it's not like everything WWE is putting out is shit. NXT has been good. NXT UK has been good. 205 Live has been good. So my point is,
SmackDown's been way better than Raw.
SmackDown's been way better than Raw ever since they did the split again.
Wait, real quick. Go ahead. Finish.
You're good. But I mean, all I'm getting at is like, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things that WWE and in wrestling in general frustrate me. I'm a fan just like you guys, and I'll get on here and bitch and harp like everybody else. All I'm saying is, I feel like the wrestling community as a whole needs to be more objective when they watch this stuff, because not everything is shitty. Okay. Like, not you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to say that to like defend them, because I'll be the first to say I think Raw hasn't been good in a while, and I think SmackDown has been better than Raw for sure.
Well, that's a question I was going to ask. So, Kyle, since you already brought it up, I'll throw it to you. So basically, both of you were talking about Raw. What are your thoughts on SmackDown? Start with you, Mr. Collison.
I feel like SmackDown's taken more of the time to actually build people up. Case in point, Becky Lynch, bro. Like, did it take longer than any of us might have wanted? I think Becky Lynch should have been back in the top of the picture a long time ago. But, dude, had she not gotten her face broke by Nia Jax, she was the hottest fucking thing they had in the whole company.
Still is, I think.
I don't care what nobody says. And I think you're right there, too, because think of it this way. Okay, so she's coming back at TLC. Spoiler alert, they're going to do the first ever TLC all triple threat women's match. It's going to be her, Charlotte, and Asuka.
Right.
There you go. Another badass match. And then, because that match with Ronda didn't get to happen, who knows? Maybe it's Becky and Ronda at WrestleMania. Maybe, Charlotte completes the full heel turn and you have the heel 4 horsewomen versus Ronda and her 4 horsewomen. Who the fuck knows? But with the stuff that they've done on SmackDown, they've set you up for so much shit. Like even Daniel Bryan versus AJ. You've opened all kinds of shit for that because they actually went full bore with the heel shit, and they took what was a shitty situation, with the whole, Becky getting hurt and having to change the whole Survivor Series thing, and you single-handedly basically made 2 of the hottest angles you have in the company with Becky Lynch, and then actually changing Daniel Bryan's look back more to like the American Dragon days and having him wrestle more like a chicken shit when everybody knows Bryan to be like this courageous warrior. I like it. Even the Shane McMahon shit. Like, even though a lot of people didn't like him winning best in the world, we all knew that didn't really mean he was best in the world, but I sure as fuck didn't think Shane McMahon was going to win when the thing fucking started.
All right, let me get Mr. Campbell, your thoughts on SmackDown.
I think it does actually help the show on the fact that it is only 2 hours long.
Agreed.
Like, when you compare it to Raw has more time, and so you have more time to fill. So you would necessarily think that, well, they have a larger roster, so they're able to go out there and display more talent. But when you look at it, there's probably, and I haven't done statistics, and I know somebody probably has, but if you actually add up the time wrestling, you're probably getting way more wrestling on SmackDown than you are on Raw. Probably, with the filler segments and stuff, and it does let it to be a completely different show. And for me, if I have to choose one of these 2 shows, right now I'm choosing SmackDown because I'm getting better character development out of Becky Lynch, out of Daniel Bryan, out of even having Jeff Hardy as of recently in there. I'm getting more character development out of them than I'm getting out of pretty much anybody else on Raw, and I know it's at least going to be more consistent. And it bothers me because you have basically the entire same team with, they can take what they want. They could tell SmackDown to be, how they want. And it's like, it just, you really shortchange yourself because you could make Raw even better because you have more time.
But
so to me, it really shows how they have no real grasp on it because SmackDown is far better than me.
So that brings me to a question, though, that I want to ask both of you, and I'd like to hear what you think. So obviously, firstly, I agree with the 2 hours versus 3 hours thing because I do feel like, excuse me, a lot of the things that you see on Raw are because they need to fill time. But do you guys think that the reason why you see that more, and it's something I've been thinking of just because I've been trying to look at it more objectively, do you think maybe that the reason why some of the stories and things of that nature on Raw are different for the exact reason that you just named, Kyle, in that SmackDown, to me, seems almost more geared towards all of us who are talking right now, the diehards that pretty much watch it regardless of what happens, where Raw, always has kind of been the flagship, so I feel like they kind of cater that almost a little bit to the more casual fan who, isn't going to dissect it the way that we are. I don't know.
It's really, not to interrupt, this is really what gets me, boggling because by this time next year, they're going to be on Fox getting some of the biggest promotion that they've had pretty much since the Attitude Era days when you actually have regular live TV viewers that can tune into you and don't have to have a cable subscription. This is their first time on regular television since
which I think is
the
great.
Old UPN days. And and I don't even think did they make the CW transfer when they went over to CW,
No.
or were they on Sci-Fi by then?
No.
I don't remember, but I doubt it.
Yeah, but that gets me to where it almost makes me fearful because I have a feeling they're going to completely change the roster for SmackDown. I have a feeling you'll probably be seeing, if he's still with the company, Brock. You'll probably see Braun. I have a feeling they're probably going to switch and make SmackDown the one that is more like Raw now, and basically make Raw more like SmackDown, to where it has the lesser roster and they put more effort into SmackDown, which really makes me nervous about it because as it is now, I think it would be a great product for Fox.
Hey Kyle, here's why I disagree with that. And then I'm gonna go on my rant. Fox has basically said that they want SmackDown to be more of a sports.
That's what I
feel
was
to
going to say.
So basically, they don't want Raw. They want it to be more sports-like, more realistic. So maybe a Brock Lesnar, maybe because he is a MMA fighter. But they want, when they move it to Fox, they want it to be. So last week we had Pee Wee Moore on here, and he was basically talking about how it needs to be more of a sport. And basically, what he was saying is what Fox is saying that they want. They want it to be more, less sports entertainment, less sports entertainment, and be treated like an actual sport.
Even down to the commentary.
Yeah.
That's why they're interviewing DC, because they want it to be more of a sport-based thing.
They wanted to be like their Sunday football program, so they have like a studio show where they go to the commentators and blah, blah, blah. Okay, guys, I need y'all to shut the fuck up for a little while. I'm about to go on a rant. Here we go. So, and the reason why I let you guys go first, because I wanted to hear what you guys had to say about Raw and SmackDown. And basically I told y'all, just talk about whatever y'all want as far as wrestling goes. And the main thing y'all hit on was Raw, and I had to kind of bring out the SmackDown to you guys. And Kyle, you said that you enjoy NXT, NXT UK, and 205 Live, right? Here's my problem with WWE right now. Raw and SmackDown are your two big shows. They're the ones that's on the cable networks, right? Vince McMahon has this thing in his head where there can only be one guy, right? And I've been saying this for the longest. That one guy for the longest has been Roman Reigns, right?
Mm-hmm.
That thinking has put them in a bad situation. And this happened before, and this happened again. Braun Strowman organically was becoming the biggest guy in the company. But because Vince McMahon didn't want him, he wanted Roman Reigns, he killed the whole Braun Strowman push to the point where he turned him to a heel. And then when Roman went out with this sickness, now we got to go back to Braun Strowman being the babyface, right? So he killed Braun Strowman, right?
I don't think he killed him, though, dude.
Yeah, he did.
I think
He
Cream
didn't. He heard it.
he
Hold
heard
on.
Look at him
Hold on, let me
right now versus
Hold on, let me
a
finish.
year ago.
Okay. Bobby Lashley came back, right? He started getting a little bit of momentum, right? Bobby versus Roman Reigns. Killed Bobby Lashley. Now Bobby Lashley's out there showing his ass to people.
Yeah.
Okay? Fine. Seth Rollins, when he came back from his injury, had the whole 24 series on the network. Babyface, right? Everything that he was coming back to was a babyface moment. People felt bad for him. He couldn't go to WrestleMania. People felt bad for Seth Rollins. He comes back, you turn him heel. All defeat this one guy. And when that one guy is gone and you don't have anybody else to build up at that point, now you get what you got right now. You're floundering. You're trying to find something. I was listening to Taz's show, and Taz, he went off. And he said, he had a great analogy. What he said was that when you're building a house, you need a good foundation, right? And if you're going to build that foundation from cement, that cement has to dry. The WWE has a lot of wet cement. Roman Reigns, definitely.
Excuse me, can you spell that?
Wet cement?
Yes.
WETCE.
CEMENT.
Okay, I misheard you apparently.
That's why I stopped. I knew where he was going with that. But wet cement.
We all knew where he was going.
Yeah, I know.
But they have a lot of wet cement. Roman Reigns was solid cement, right? He was a solid foundation, but he was really all you had. Now you got guys like Drew McIntyre who's coming back, and you're trying to build this time now around him, which he's a good guy to do it, but it's coming out of nowhere. Dolph Ziggler, who's been there forever, you can build around him, but you never let him fully get the heat that he deserves. And right now, and like you said, this whole thing with him and Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, there's something there, but they blew it off. They blew off a whole possible month-long feud
For
in one night, all because they don't have anything solid on that show. This all goes back to writing, to SmackDown. And I said this other week. Shane McMahon wins Best in the World, right? The World Cup. And before that, he was saying, hey, if you don't win that thing, if SmackDown doesn't win that, someone's getting fired. Then a couple weeks later, at Survivor Series, you get swept, and they don't say anything about that.
I agree.
That's terrible continuity. The writing is bad on the main roster. So if I was anybody on 205 Live, NXT UK, or NXT, I wouldn't want anything to do with that fucking main roster because you will be ruined. You will be ruined. There is no, I don't understand it. A lot of the writers from NXT, when they did the split of SmackDown and Raw, a lot of the writers from NXT came up to SmackDown. That's probably why SmackDown is a better show. But once you get Raw involved in there, which is Vince McMahon's baby, Raw's going to come out on top every single time, which is why I think the whole Survivor Series thing was terrible because Raw was involved. You have to make Raw look good because that's your hood ornament. If I'm anybody in 205 Live, NXT UK or NXT, I don't want to go anywhere near that main roster until Triple H takes over because with Vince McMahon running that, you're going to keep getting this because he will not change. He's a billionaire. He's not going to change his thought process because he's made money doing it. And what we as fans have to realize is we're going to have to make a choice. Either you deal with what they're putting out there because it's going to be the same thing for as long as Vince McMahon is alive. It's going to be the same thing, or you stop watching it. It's the only choice you got. You can still watch NXT UK, 205 Live, and NXT because that's a different product. That's more geared towards people like, especially you and me, Mr. Campbell, because we have more of an indie feel to us. That's geared towards us. That's geared towards people 35 and up, or 18 to 35. Raw and SmackDown? More so Raw?
Well,
that's for the kids. That's Vince McMahon's baby. It's not going to change. It's not going to change until Triple H takes over. So just like the Lions, it's not going to change until they get a new ownership in there. So it's not going to change. And I'm getting to the point now where it's like, it is what it is. I watched a couple little segments that I want to watch, but as far as like giving a damn about the main roster, It's going to be NXT and NXT 205 and UK for me. And then here's the problem. Now they're starting to shit on 205 Live because you got Leo Rush getting banged upside the head with a guitar, and then you got Drake Maverick, the commissioner of 205 Live, peeing on Robes. Come on, man. He's peeing on himself and peeing on Robes. He is the commissioner of one of your brands, and he's out there doing PP jokes, man.
I think they figure with that, I don't think they think that enough people that watch 205 Live really are going to give a fuck as far as Raw.
I think that was just Vince trying to do something to entertain himself because they said Vince wrote last week's show, and it was the worst rated Raw ever. So that honestly should be that's a look in the mirror moment to where your chairman writes the show and it gets the worst ratings in almost 30 years. That lets you know something.
If you ever listen to Something to Wrestle With, Bruce Pritchard, and just listen to some of the stuff that the stories he tells about Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon has almost like a juvenile sense of humor to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
Like he loves like farts and PP jokes and stuff like that. And like, yeah, you know, every now and again you could throw that, but it's like, oh, dude, where do we watch it?
Remember when Natalya first came, one of her first storylines was the fact that she farted around people.
So
I mean, this is literally a dynasty from the Hart Foundation, one of the greatest families in the history of this industry, and you have the first female Hart in
one
the
of the
company,
best female
and her
wrestlers
storyline
of
is
all
that she
time.
can't stop farting around people.
People, this is nothing new. Either you watch it and just shut the fuck up and deal with what it is, or watch 205, watch NXT, watch UK, or watch something completely different. These are the only choices that you have, because as long as Vince McMahon is running this company, this is what you're going to get. And I'm getting to the point now where it's like the only reason I watch it is because I got to cover it on this podcast. That's the only reason I watch Raw. And SmackDown I watch a little bit better because I enjoy it more. But like I said, with the whole Survivor Series thing, Raw was involved, so it ruined it. That's my rant.
It seems to me like they almost, and it's like, it's funny saying it's counterproductive, but it's like they're so steadfast in their ways to where anything that honestly organically gets over, they don't like it. The whole Daniel Bryan thing. He organically got over.
That wasn't Vince's
they
idea.
honestly hated it. Zack Ryder.
Vince didn't do it.
And then the thing with this Bayley and Sasha thing, I'm like, you literally are ruining two of your biggest 5 female attractions. You got Nia, who's going to get pushed because he's The Rock's cousin. You got Ronda because she's one of the biggest celebrities that's ever going to attach to the company.
Wait, time out. Can I touch on that real quick? Can I touch on that real quick? And then
we're out of time.
We're out of time? Oh, man.
I told you we got to wrap.
All right, go ahead, wrap us up, Kyle.
I will.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so you figured out that we got some issues with the fucking product, but a product that you're not going to have some issues with, make sure you come check out Cataclysm BCWA and, follow the show, Knockouts and 3 Counts Podcast on Facebook at KO3C Pod. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Detroit Knockout. And, hopefully we'll see where the fuck we're at next week.
All right, Mr. Campbell, go ahead, throw your shit out there, man.
This is Kyle, the other Kyle. You can find me Team Chaos on Instagram and Twitter. I'll be better friends with you on Instagram than Twitter. Facebook, Kyle J. Campbell. On my other show, DCTV Multiverse Podcast on everyonewhocares.com, Twitch, and where you get your podcast from.
Alrighty, and this is Devin. You can find me on Twitter at Devin63. That's DEVINTHE63. You can find me on Instagram at All Steak No Sizzle, one word. Speaking of All Steak No Sizzle, check out my other podcast. And I went on a good Michigan rant, and you can listen to me talk about Jim Harbaugh on that one. Make sure you join the Facebook group, Reality Era News, where we talk wrestling in there. You want to rant about wrestling, go ahead and jump in there. And if you're looking for a car, check out SouthfieldQualityCars.com. Once you find the vehicle you like to purchase, go into Southfield Quality Cars and use the reference code 19309, and you will receive $500 off on your purchase. That's 19309 to receive $500 off.
Do they carry Geo Metros?
They might cover. I doubt it. I don't. When's the last time they made a Geo Metro?
Oh,
Right. late.
I think
90s.
Randy was a baby back then. He only had half a beard and some hair.
There's a joke there, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Kyle, why don't you go ahead and send us home, man?
Also, before I get out of here, shout out to last week's guest Pokey and Brett Martin for putting on a war at TWC. Shout out to Vince Murdoch for getting another title. And shout out to past guests of the show, Marco, who's getting ready to go to war for Cage Fury, which is where they picked up Mickey Gall from in Atlantic City next Saturday, I think. Anyway, make sure you watch us. Knockouts and 3 counts. Tell your friends. Share that shit. Don't be lame. Fuck your couch.
Peace.
CCTV Multiverse Podcast. Listen to it.
Oh my God.
Wait
for me to turn things off before you like